Okay. Okay, I'm Moshe, it's my channel, and I'm getting set up here while we're waiting for people to come in. This will be a little bit of a wait, and I've got to get my glasses clean. I don't know what got on them. Oh, there we are. This will take a couple of seconds only. Okay. All right, let's fix this a little better. Okay. It was nasty this morning. Now it's getting nice. So it's 9:31 in the morning on the 29th of November. It's a Wednesday, and our weather report is not going to be bad. Let's see. 56 now. That's cold. No, it's 62 now. Sorry, that's when I woke up. And about 1 o'clock will be, well, about 2 o'clock will be at 72. That'll be the high for the day. Then to give you a perspective, at 8 o'clock at night it'll be 61, and 9 o'clock the same, and 10 o'clock 60, so it's not so bad. Tomorrow will be the same thing, high is 72, but overcast. Friday 73 high. Saturday is Shabbat. Wow, 76 high, sunny. That's unusual. And then Sunday, 77 degrees and sunny. And Monday, 78 degrees. Wow. We're going to have, that would be spring weather. High 70s is very pleasant. You open all the windows, no air conditioning, no heaters, nice. And I could rely on the solar heating again. If it's in the mid-60s and sunny, the solar heating works pretty good for heating the water. If it's overcast, it doesn't work. Got to use the electric heater, which when it's in the 50s and raining, you got to put the electric heater on for a good 45 minutes or an hour to get hot water for showers. It takes a while because it gets so cold and damp and everything. Okay, let me go check the chat and the live stream, make sure everything is working. Well, we got sound and picture. Let me do a couple of things in the live stream. Right. done. Being a Bible-believing site, let's do our praise. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay. To set the stage, yesterday, the UN General Assembly voted against Israel in an extremely, almost blasphemous way. I'm trying to get the vote count. There was a motion calling on Israel to immediately withdraw from the Golan Heights, that's by Syria, Judea and Samaria, that's the West Bank, and East Jerusalem. We've already left Gaza. We've already given back the Sinai Peninsula. So basically it's pre-67 borders. The United States did not vote for that. Now, does this have teeth? No. Because it's a General Assembly. What they have to do to make this enforceable by military is to they've got to go to the UN General Security Council. My glasses are still screwed up. The UN General Security Council and get a decision there to take action against Israel, which is, if there's one veto from anybody on the Security Council, it fails. And normally Biden would veto it, and normally the UK in these days would veto it as well, I think, and maybe one or two others. So it's highly unlikely that that's going to go there unless Biden has had it with Israel. And that day is coming, and soon. Scripture is, all her lovers have left her. The United States not really a lover. People think it is, but it's not. Let's go back historically and look at what the United States did to Israel. We'll go back to around 1939. There was a maritime passenger vessel full of Jews escaping Europe to get away from Hitler's concentration camps, and they showed up in America. And I guess it was probably Roosevelt or somebody. Truman, I don't know which one of these clowns it was, sent the ship back to Europe, and most of them died in concentration camps. The excuse was immigration quotas. Okay? Back in those days, 1939, 1940, 42, 43, the Jewish people were raising support for America to bomb the concentration camps, Buchenwald, Treblinka, Auschwitz, and all that. America didn't do it. One of their excuses for it is highly plausible. They didn't want to kill the people. I could see this. I mean, that's a good excuse. It's a real excuse. So then they turned around and they said, bomb the train tracks, because they transport them in, the prisoners get transported into these concentration camps on rail cars. Just blow the tracks up. Now, strategically, tactically, is that a very difficult thing to do? No. You look for bridges, overpasses, stuff like that, and blow them up. Did America do that? No. Why? You tell me. If I tell you, you want me to tell you? Because they were behind Hitler's final solution. Or why would they behave this way? Wait till I finish telling you all the other stuff they did. They knew darn well what was going on. It was no good excuse for not blowing up the train tracks. Nothing. Okay? Nothing. The war comes to an end. Americans are on patrol in Germany and Austria and places like that, and they find these concentration camps. And the soldiers were very nice to them. And they tried to feed them, but they had to be very careful because they were starving. You can't just sit down here and have a quarter pounder and an order of fries, you know. You got to start with maybe a half a piece of bread and a half of an orange and something like that, and then maybe you feed them like that 6, 7, 8 times the first day, and then the second and the third day you increase it, and then by the 5th day they could probably be eating pretty good. They weren't just starving because they got stuck on a camping trip with a snowstorm and they ran out of food. These people had been living on starvation meals, for months and years, But it takes quite a few days for the body to bounce back. The stomach is shrunk and so forth, okay? The body adapts. I remember I used to go on cruise ships, and the food is tempting on cruise ships. This is when I was in the world. And I would start out no desserts. By the 3rd day, I'd be eating desserts, right? They just look too good, And I'd be eating in between meals, grab some pizza, grab a Caesar salad, get an ice cream, get a piece of cake, get a pizza, get some pastry with a cafe latte or something, right? And eating meals. The one thing I learned on a cruise ship is don't eat at night. Eat your evening meal and quit. One time they had a midnight buffet on the top deck. It was Mexican themed. So the band dressed up like Mexicans were playing Mexican music, and they had Mexican food. So I went up there. I never been to one of these. I've been on cruises, so I went up there at midnight and I started eating the food. And boy, I didn't have a good night with the ship rocking and rolling. No. Never do that again. So I would come home from the cruise before I really learned my lesson about this, and I'd be 10 pounds heavier, okay? And I'd be home and I'd be eating normal, and I would say within 4, maybe 5 days, maximum a week, your body weight goes right down to where it was, because it was not your normal thing. So your body just gets rid of everything and you go back, and it would be like, I did that multiple times. It always worked out. So I imagine it's similar when you're starving and then you start getting food. It takes time to get your body used to it, People on cruise ships generally go there for 2 reasons. One is to eat like crazy. And you see a lot of obese people on the cruises. I'm talking people 60, 80 pounds, 100 pounds overweight. And that's a disaster for them, to go to the buffet like that. But they go. And people go there to drink. It's amazing how these people drink in the morning, the afternoon, at night. They don't have to drive. They don't have to be responsible for very much of anything on a cruise ship. And they just drink and they make fools of themselves. As in recent years, there's been problems with fights among the guests on the cruise ships. Now, when I was cruising in the late 90s and early 2000, I never heard of fights or anything. Like, people just didn't do that, you know? It just didn't happen. But now it does. Some of the cruises are really cheap. And they get people that would normally never have taken cruises before, and they bring their neighborhood protocols to the cruise ship, and it doesn't work. The ships have cameras and security, and the security people will look at the cameras, talk to witnesses, talk to them. And if one guy was clearly the victim, like they were dancing and a guy banged into another guy and he pushed and shoved him and kicked him and punched him, well, the aggressor's going to get thrown off the ship at the next stop, not the other guy. But if they had a verbal altercation and they both provoked each other, they'd get rid of both of them. No refunds, nothing. They just put you off at the next port. And then you got to make your way home, I guess. Or maybe they give you a ticket. I don't know how they do it. But that's their terms of service, you know. But if somebody, runs down the hall, drunk or something, and bangs into you and you fall over, you just call security and they look at the footage and then just get the guy, throw him off the boat, probably. Crew members get thrown off the boats pretty regularly, generally for fraternizing with the passengers. The higher level crew members, the officers and the entertainers, are allowed to go to the gym, the swimming pool, the buffet, and things like that. And they'll talk to you, but people fraternize with them and then they get in trouble. The only thing they can really do and get away with it is say, a lot of the time it's a member of one sex fraternizing with a member of the other sex. Okay. So the only thing they could really do is tell the guest I can't fraternize, but we're stopping in Nassau. I know this bar, restaurant, the name of it is blah, blah, blah. Why don't you meet me there? And that's lawful. If the crew member could get enough time to get off the boat, they don't always get off the boat. It depends what they do. If they're an entertainer, chances are they can just get off the boat because there's not a lot of entertainment going on the boat when they're dark. But anyway, let's get back to Israel. So now comes the war's over, and Jews from Europe mostly are trying to come to Israel to live because they're displaced people from World War II and the Nazis and all of that, right? So Great Britain establishes a punishing quota, and they show up on ships to return to Israel, well, to go to their homeland according to God, which is good enough for me. And Great Britain turns them away. All of this stuff I got out of Google. You can get it out of Google. Great Britain turns them away. At times, Great Britain warships shot at these ships carrying Jews to Israel. They damaged the ships. They hurt and killed passengers. They shot artillery at the ships. This is how sick the British were. You got it? Okay. Great Britain was operating under a UN mandate where they had 100,000 troops in Israel. Now, years ago, Great Britain was occupying India, which is what? 500 times, oh, I don't know, 50 or 100 times, probably 200 times bigger than little Israel. And they did that with 100,000 troops, just to show you how difficult it was to run Israel because of the Arabs and the Jews. Israel had two armies. It was called Palestine then. It had the Haganah, and what was the other one? I forgot. And Menachem Begin was there, and he blew the British headquarters up, which was at the King David Hotel in Jerusalem, which is still there today. It's a legitimate 5-star hotel, but an older 5-star hotel. But I've been in it. It's pretty luxurious, and they get good food and stuff. Very expensive. I think a nice room would be like $600 a night, something like that. So along comes 1945. And Great Britain wanted to get out of there. Their mandate was up in October of that year, 1948. And they wanted to get out of there. So they actually pulled out early, and they left by the end of the night, May 14th. So the next day there was a vote in the UN, and Israel was doing what it called declaring its independence. Now, every leader of Israel has been in expire since then, every single one, and before then. So my question to you is, what the heck was Israel declaring independence from? The British renounced everything to do with Israel, and they withdrew every ship and piece of military equipment and soldier out of there. So I ask you, what was Israel declaring independence from? I have no idea. There was nobody dominating Israel. So that's the first warning sign. What were they up to here? It doesn't add up. It's not kosher. From why? The next thing they did was they changed their name from Palestine to Israel. Okay? And the UN voted on that, and it passed. Now, this is not the nation being born in a day. When the Israelis born in a day, it's like the Christian born-again experience. You're a new creation in Christ Jesus. This isn't it. This is replacement theology talking when they tell you that that was it. So, now Israel's a nation. And then a day later or so, the Arab states attack Israel, combined, little Israel. And Israel had a lot of trouble getting weapons because the United Nations and the United States of America put an arms embargo on Israel, preventing them from buying weapons from legitimate sources. I say again, and this is verifiable in Google, in 1948, America and the UN put an arms embargo on Israel, preventing them from buying appropriate weapons. Russia was selling, at the time, decent weapons to the Arab states, and the UN didn't do beans about it. Okay. Are you getting the picture yet? Are you getting there yet, huh? You figured it out? No. Okay. Israel got some old World War II busted up weapons from Czechoslovakia, rehabbed them, and fought the war like that. Okay. In 1973, Israel had another war, And Tricky Dicky Nixon was the president, and he had told Israel repeatedly, like Biden tells Israel all these lies, that he was going to support Israel, and the support was going to come in the form of munitions and military supplies that Nixon was going to airlift over into Israel. Okay? The war broke out, and then Nixon calls up Israel and says, listen, I'm sorry I can't give you the weapons now. We have to wait 5 days, basically out of respect for the Muslim countries attacking you. What Nixon was really saying is this, and let's not be stupid and kid ourselves. I'm giving them 5 days to annihilate you. If they can't annihilate you, then I'm giving you the weapons. Did he do that? He did. He waited 5 days and gave them the weapons, and Israel won. What happened shortly after that? Carter gets involved with Anwar Sadat, and he gets him to recognize Israel, make peace with Israel, and Israel returns to Sinai Peninsula, which was great for Israel with its low population center because we were pumping our own oil now. We didn't have to buy it. Okay? And what happens? We got to give it back. Now, Israel was too small and too weak to do anything about it. They didn't take a stand for God. It's not the right time for that. It still isn't. The United States took it back from them. And what did the United States do to Israel around 2005 or so? They leaned hard on Israel, and Netanyahu, that piece of garbage, was involved in this. And they got Israel to give Gaza back to the so-called Palestinians. And the military had to come in and forcibly remove the Israelis from their homes in Gaza. Okay. Beachfront living, good weather, really nice place. You got to give it back, Israel. We're not helping you fulfill Bible prophecy. We're reversing it. Let me say that again. We're not helping you fulfill Bible prophecy by getting the land. We're reversing it to show the people that the Bible doesn't come true. Okay? Got it? So, we gave it back. And then look what happened. And what did the UN do yesterday? They want us to give the East Jerusalem back, the West Bank back, and the Golan Heights back. You know, how much longer do you think Zechariah 12 is going to be? Now, don't think Biden's not orchestrating junk against us. So this is going on, and let's say Biden on TV a few days ago said, I may not support Israel if they go into a second phase of the war. CIA director, another big shot from America, I think Blinken or something, and the Mossad guy, head of the Mossad, were over there in Qatar negotiating another peace deal. After this, you know, we got another 2 days, so I think that's up tomorrow. And then there's probably going to be another 2 days and another 2 days till they're depleted of hostages. And Netanyahu mysteriously stopped talking about we're going to destroy Hamas. And Gallant, his puppet Minister of Defense, has stopped talking about it. So, what does that tell you? It tells me that Netanyahu was working this whole thing out with Biden before its inception back in September sometime. I told you for months and months that Netanyahu would put Israel in war to stop his criminal case from going to jail. And if he couldn't get rid of the criminal case, he would destroy Israel. Because if he destroyed Israel, there would be no criminal courts to proceed with, no jails. I told you that he was such a narcissistic psychopath, he would do that. And look what happened, and look what's still happening. Why would the United States have a falling out with Israel? One reason is there's a strong move in Israel to get Hamas completely and totally demilitarized and out of Gaza. Now, where are they going to send them? I couldn't tell you. I have no idea under the sun who'd want them. I have no idea where they'd put them. 40-something thousand? Where are you going to put them? I don't know. The world's obviously going to go crazy if Israel tries to go in and kill all of them, unless the two witnesses do it. Then the world can go bang their head against the wall. It's not going to do them any good. Okay. So I guess Biden is working out what he wants to do with Hamas, which would be to leave them in place. Now, I don't know how we're going to seriously demilitarize them without a lot of fighting. They're not going to just lay down their arms. They're going to, they're going to keep fighting. I mean, what do you think? I mean, let's get real. Are they going to let us just go in there and say, and take everything out of there that could be related to a military? Why would they do that? Start over with this. They're not. I mean, it's going to have to go by force. It's not going to go easy. You're going to have to go in there and, keep blowing up tunnels. Keep blowing up command centers and houses, and keep looking for weapons stashes and looking for terrorists that are wanted for their heinous crimes of October 7th and all this stuff. It's, you're going to have to dominate them to demilitarize them. I mean, you got to get their communications equipment, you got to get their computers, their records, get their bank accounts closed, confiscate their assets. They already found $5 million of US dollars in there, one of their hideouts. Let me think. You got to get their uniforms, their identity cards, and confiscate them. You got to get the pistols, the rifles, the bullets, the RPGs, the missile-making equipment, the missiles themselves, and try to find as much of this stuff as you can by interrogating prisoners and stuff like that. And it would take a few months to make a good dent in it, probably 90 days. You'd have a lot of the stuff gone. But they intend to go and start fighting in the south, Israel does, because that's where a lot of them fled to. So what's America going to do? First thing I want to tell you is I'm not dead sure what America's going to do, because Biden is scared like a little girl right now, and he's bouncing around and doesn't know what to do. You got to tell yourself, ask yourself, can Biden fight North Korea and China in the Pacific, at the same time fight Russia and Belarus and other allies that Russia has in Europe, and at the same time fight Iran and her proxies in the Middle East? The answer to that is no. I've looked for what the experts are saying about what is it going to take to invade Iran. And the low estimate is about 480,000 soldiers. The high estimate is 600,000. So we'll call it 500,000, 500,000 soldiers. Under the stress of China waging war against Taiwan and Japan, and North Korea against South Korea, and Russia against Ukraine, which is ongoing, and Poland, and Romania, and Finland, and all that, can America take 500,000 troops and deploy them in the Middle East? No. Can Russia get help from other countries? Yes. What would be the maximum amount of results they get? Probably about 100,000. So if they want to cut it close, maybe they can move 350,000 troops here to invade Iran. Iran is a very mountainous region, okay? It makes an invasion very difficult. They have embedded in mountains missile launchers and artillery and mortars and soldiers there, and it's very, very difficult to get them. They just carve a cave in the mountain and go back 50, 75, 100 feet. That's easy. Okay? And they take their missile launchers and other things and just put them on simple railroad track. And when they need it, they just push it out manually. Lock the wheels, launch the missiles, the artillery, and then push it back in. Go back inside. Sit down, make yourself a nice hot cup of tea, make some barbecued meat with green peppers and onions and potatoes. You know, what's going to happen to you 75 feet or 100 feet inside of a mountain, in a tunnel, in a cave? Nothing. The only thing that's going to get you is ground soldiers. But let's say you're 2,500 feet up, which is a modest height. They could also go up 4,000 or 5,000 feet. I don't think they'd want to get much higher. It'd be too cold. But let's say they go 3,500 feet just to take it easy, right? Well, the range of their missiles and rockets is going to be enhanced by that altitude, right? Okay. So they're going to get more range, not more accuracy, more range, which is important with the artillery. So the American troops are rolling through on the roads through the mountains. You know, the roads are going to go up and twist and bend. And they're going to take pot shots at them with their shoulder-fired rockets, RPGs, with real missiles, with rockets from a rocket pod that has maybe 16 rockets, little rockets 2 3/4 inch, and pelt them down on their head. They could launch drones to attack the force, missiles, mortars, everything. So America's going to be fighting mountain to mountain instead of door to door, mountain to mountain. America can run around and blow stuff up in Iran with bombs and missiles. No doubt about that. They can blow oil fields, they can blow oil refineries. That stuff's not underground. They can blow up agricultural fields, bridges, highways, airports, radar, above ground military bases, factories producing goods essential to the military, government buildings above ground, TV stations, radio stations, media stations, mosques, minarets, that's about it. Oh, and Navy bases. The ships can't really go underground, so, I mean, they could. How would that work? Well, you got to find where the water goes into caves and mountains at the water. They exist all over the world. You go in, it's dark, it's dangerous because tide changes, and but you can go in there and hide from missiles and rockets and planes because you'd have to attack through the opening in the cave opening that you're in the water, and that would mean you'd have to be lined up with that and shoot it in. It's a possibility, but you would have to endanger yourself tremendously to go after them. So they're not going to really hurt that much of Iran. They're going to knock out electricity and cell phones and internet. Water will get interrupted. Traffic lights will stop working. All kinds of stuff. But none of this is going to stop Iran. And while this is going on, Iran is voraciously going to fight back with drones, with missiles, with rockets, with troops, with anything they could muster up. So it will be bloody. Let's ask ourselves, why does Biden want to protect Israel? He says, because they're like-minded to us, they believe like us, they're like us. Yeah, they got expire leaders like America, that's for sure. But what does that mean? Why does he need that? He doesn't need Israel in the Middle East, guys. He doesn't. This was a provocation to get Iran to raise their ugly head, which worked. And now they want Iran to act stupid enough where they could attack Iran. But Biden's also scared to attack Iran. So he's sitting there twiddling his thumbs. What do I do now? What do I do? What do I do? And then he prays to false gods and asks them for advice. That's the word they use. And who knows what these idiots tell him. So he's vacillating. He doesn't know what he wants to do now. He really doesn't know. Troop loss invading Iran until they came to Tehran, which is 600 or 800 miles inland, would probably be maybe a low of 30,000. A high could be 100,000. He could just do airstrikes on Iran and have no casualties, probably. But how effective is that? Oh, it would be effective, but you'd be nowhere near taking the country over. You'd be punishing them is all. They would still be continuing their rotten practices in the Middle East. They would still be attacking America bases in Iraq and Syria, and Iran probably intends to expand those attacks to Saudi Arabia, Oman, possibly Jordan, the UAE, Bahrain, Qatar, and probably it. So what happens if Israel gets overrun? Let's just say Hezbollah, Hamas, IRG sends 175,000 soldiers into Syria. The Iraqi and the Syrian militias raise 60,000. The Syrian army throws 30 or 40,000 in, and they got a big thing, and they start coming at us, pushing through the borders, and they overrun us, and they kill Israel and conquer it. It's never going to happen. Let's say it did. So, where's that leave America? I mean, what does America care? How did life change for America? Well, they still got a problem with these rebel countries not wanting to listen to the daughter of Babylon. And now they're just demonstrating how bloodthirsty they really are. If America, if these Muslim terrorist states overran, I mean, Yemen would join in, and North Korea might send troops over, China might send troops, Russia might send Wagner, you know, and they overrun Israel and they kill 4 or 5 million people in Israel. It's not going to happen at all ever, but you know, what happens? So Iran and these other countries, they occupy Israel, which will be a shambles, and they take over Jerusalem. They build another big mosque to commemorate it, and they tell the Catholics to go fly a kite. They're not giving them a church there. The Christians, they'll ignore. They won't even answer them. And Israel becomes a Muslim state. Would Satan be happy about that? Absolutely. He'd be ecstatic. He'd be happy as a pig in stink. This is the purpose of this. Let's go to Ephesians 6. Let's go Ephesians 6. I'm not sure the verse, but we'll find it. I'm looking for the verse, guys. Well, we'll start. Okay. We'll start in Ephesians 6:11. Put on the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. What is the armor? Is it Kevlar? Is it lead? It's faith. That's the armor, faith. Okay. The whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the wiles, okay, of the devil. The wiles. The schemes. That's what the word means. Okay, let's see what Strong's actually says. Of course, I was giving you the Mounts version of it. Let's see what Strong's. Mounts is a guy that interprets the language. He's not bad, just the New Testament. Travesty, trickery, the lie in wait, okay? The wiles, the plots, the plans, the deceptions of the devil. And believe me, one is being worked on Israel right now. Started October 7th. It's not what the people think it is. It's way more twisted, sick, and evil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood. Okay? The flesh and blood are victims of these unclean spirits. they're blinded by them. They don't know what they're doing. They think these things are gods and worship them as gods, and they're not gods. They're doomed. They're like beasts led to the slaughter, but you're never going to convince them of that. See, as long as they see the world leaders, the mayors, the governors, the councilmen, the senators, the congressmen, the White House, the generals, the heads of industry, all are espots serving the unclean spirits, they breathe easy and they think everything is going to be fine. They don't understand the 2,000-year punishment, Hosea 6:1-2. They don't understand time's up or when the year of recompenses. And they're not going to understand it until it's on their head, and that's too late. They won't stop believing it until the world is changed, and it's going to be too late for them. They're not going to be walking around above ground anymore. So we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities. Let's look up that word. 746. What's a principality? Let's go to Strong's, because he's the most direct and concise. A chief. Okay? Chief. Who's the real chief of these countries? The unclean spirits. Don't kid yourself. Against principalities, against powers. What's a power? 1849, Strong's number. Strong says ability, mastery, okay, powers against the rulers of the darkness of this world. And that says it all. They're the rulers. Remember, Satan took Yeshua up in the mountain and said, showed him all the kingdoms of the world and said, just worship me and I'll give all this to you. It's mine to have and I can give it to you. Well, he was probably lying, but he does have all the nations of the world. Against spiritual wickedness in high places. What's wickedness? 4189. Depravity. It means worshiping false gods, unclean spirits in high places. That's the White House. That's the House of Lords, the House of Commons. It's all these places. Now, would you like me to give you some photographic prima facie evidence that there's spiritual wickedness in high places? Some of you would probably like that. And I'll be focusing on the daughter of Babylon right now because that's the one that's cranking up the problems in Israel and the Middle East. It's daughter of Babylon doing it. Be a minute for me to bring this stuff up for you, but I will. Alright, it's not the greatest picture. There's the top of the U.S. Capitol building bears this woman's statue with a bird on her head, which is some demonic idol. And there it is. Statue of Liberty, what do you think it is? A flat-chested woman, huh? What about that? Here's the Spirit of Justice statue at the Rayborn building in Washington, D.C. Now we have another flat-chested woman there with some naked little baby. See, this is mad upon her idols. So let's keep going. These are demonic images. Don't get that wrong. Here's the peace monument at the Capitol. I don't know if that's a man or a woman there, but it's a graven image. Oh, I gotta get out of here. What's going on? It's certainly not a correct thing. Let's see what else we got here. Here's the Tiffium of the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. with some weird looking woman in the front, and I don't know who she is. She has a crown. I mean, I do know who she is. Her name is Columbia, District of Columbia. The Columbia Motion Pictures icon, the Statue of Liberty is Columbia. That's it. Those are all graven images. There's the Treasury building. Please take note of those pillars in the front, please. Not only the pillars in the front, the Tiffium, the triangle over the pillars. This is what the temple of the mythological false god Jupiter looks like. Does it look a little bit familiar yet? It should. These places are temples to worship false gods, spiritual wickedness in high places. That was a Roman temple. Let's take a look at Greek temples. See if they look the same. Of course they do. Same demons. Here's one of the Greek temples. Notice the pillars and the Tiffium, the triangle. Same junk, isn't it? And here's your Supreme Court building. Same thing. It's a Greek or Roman temple. What do you think it is? Are you delusional? It's the same thing. They were worshiping unclean spirits in these places. Here's the New York Stock Exchange on 11 Wall Street. Same thing, it's a temple. The Tiffium, the triangle, the pillars. It's the same garbage. It's a temple, a financial worship temple. Do you see how they're mad upon their idols? All these government buildings are shrines to the demons. George Washington was a Mason. Ben Franklin was a Mason. Come on, guys, wake up. Wake up. Daughter of Babylon is rotten. Rotten. I mean, I could keep going. You know, you can see the same pillars in the Statue of Liberty. That is a sort of an idol that they worship because that's Columbia. It's one of their goddesses. They've named the capital of the country Washington, D.C., which stands for Washington District of Columbia. It means it's her Columbia, and she runs the whole United States out of this District of Columbia, which is not in any of the 50 states. Do you understand that? Now, let me put that together for you with Scripture so you understand the sickness of this America. And this, what I was just showing you, is spiritual wickedness in high places. These are the high places. Okay, so we just go to Revelation 17. And we just go to the last verse. And it's, you remember we start off in Revelation 17. We go, come hither, and I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters, with whom the kings of the earth have been committed fornication. That's spiritual fornication. That's America. And the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit on a scarlet-colored beast. That's the beast who the church incorrectly calls the Antichrist. Full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. So the woman, Washington, D.C., as you'll soon see, is sitting on or dominating the beast. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls. And this is all a vision. It's not a literal, okay? And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots, speaking of spiritual whoredom, and abominations of the earth. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints, and with the blood of the martyrs of Yeshua. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. And the angel said unto me, Wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman, and the beast that carrieth her, which hath the 7 heads and the 10 horns. And the beast that thou saw was, and is, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit. So, okay, he was, then he's not, because he's in the pit. And then in Revelation 9, an angel comes down with a key, opens the pit, smoke comes up, blots out the sun, locusts with stingers like scorpions and serpents come out, and that is, hasn't happened yet. Although the church wants it to come every day so they could believe in their stupid, phony rapture theory. There is a rapture, but the timing is not anywhere near what they think it is. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names are not written in the book of life. That's the church has people whose name is not written in the book of life. That's who goes there. From the foundation of the world, where they behold the beast that was and is not and yet is. And here is the mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains. That's the 7 continents, the mountain, on which the woman sitteth. So the United States is the great hammer of the whole earth. Okay? The great voice. And there are 7 kings, 5 have fallen, 1 is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. And the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th, and is of the 7, and goeth into perdition. So the actual beast comes out of the pit and reigns himself. That's what it means when he's the 8th. Okay? And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. The beast has not yet taken power. The whore is not yet dead. And shall give their power and strength unto the beast. These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. And he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are people and multitudes and nations. That word is the goyim word, the heathen, and tongues. It doesn't say Israel. That's where the whore sitteth. But it's, the leaders of Israel or espots, And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate. These are 10 countries that are going to hate America and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and turn and burn her with fire. Well, I could name some of them to you, I think. North Korea, China, Iran, Russia would be some of them, anyway. And when it says burn her, eat her flesh, judging from what Hamas did on October 7th in Israel, I think this is a literal. I think you'll expect this literal. The fire, the burning her is literal, and this is too. They'll go cannibal. Now, let's keep reading. For God hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will, and agree and their kingdom, and give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of God shall be fulfilled. So God hath put it in their hearts to fulfill his will. God's running the show, giving them delusions perhaps. And the woman with which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. And that great city is Washington, D.C. What other city reigneth over the kings of the earth? The Bible knew what was going to happen. Washington, D.C. is not really part of America, which is the daughter of Babylon. It's its own city. It's its own special thing. Very unique. There are no other countries that have a setup like that. It's unique unto itself. And that's your giveaway. No country would ever name herself daughter of Babylon, and if the Bible said America, no country would call itself America or United States or Washington, D.C. or anything. But it's right there, it's smacking you in the face. All you got to do is understand a little bit about it, and you see it plain as day. So is this unclean spirit worshiping country going to want to keep Israel in place? Listen, Satan's power after he's gotten thrown out of heaven with his demons, a third of the angels, is through man. He's a liar and a deceiver and a murderer, and he deceives the people into serving him. He comes as an angel of light, and he tricks them and swindles them in witchcrafts and sorceries, and they serve him and follow him, and they think that they're serving a god. And he has all these various stories he tells them about everything from being Jesus' brother on down the line, and he's not. And, all of this crackpot stuff, he changes his story with regularity over the years and centuries, So, they serve him and he uses them. They do what he tells them. And he sees the end time signs all over the place. So what is he trying to do now? He's trying to, what's his best move? End Israel. Then there's no second Exodus. Israel's not going to be the head of the nations. There's not going to be a temple here and all that. So what's his best move for doing that? To use the religion of 1 billion people that hates us. You know who that is. And they're capable of eating our flesh and burning her and all that. So Israel, well, that applies to America, not Israel. But that's what he's trying to accomplish now, is to get this to all rise up against Israel. Now, is it possible that America rises up with Iran and the Muslims against Israel? I don't think so. No. Is it possible that America is setting a trap or a plot or a snare for Israel? A snare? Yeah. Biden said the other day, I may not support Israel if they go into the second phase of the war. See? They said they would fight against Hezbollah if they opened another front. Well, Hezbollah did open another front. They never fought against it. I don't know what America's going to do with Iran. Biden doesn't know what to do. He's just sitting on his hands, hoping things get better. Seeking a diplomatic solution. See, America's setting a snare for Israel, but he's going to reap what he sows, and he's going into the big snare that Russia, Iran, and China are setting for him. And Iran is going to keep harassing him in the Middle East nonstop until he leaves the Middle East, if he ever does. Speaking of Biden, they're not going to let him, they're not going to stop, because they want him to get bogged down in the Middle East. Okay? Because that's the snare. And when he's bogged down, he's going to use up his missiles, he's going to use up his rockets, tanks are going to get destroyed, they're going to seriously try to sink some of his navy and shoot his planes down and everything else. But he can't do much to Iran. Iran's underground. He may never do a ground invasion, or he may. I don't know. If he does, he's plenty stupid. But I think the guy is plenty stupid to start with. He has no fear of the Lord, and that's the beginning of wisdom. So, using the Bible, I would say he doesn't have the beginning of wisdom. Now, using Encyclopedia Britannica or something like that, yeah, he's a smart, great man. He's not. Nothing of the sort. He's a creature that has a heart after Satan, just like Satan. I mean, I'm hearing words of disarming Hamas, evacuation of the entire Hamas regime to another country, and demilitarization of Gaza. This is never going to happen. They don't want that to happen. They just talk like they want that to happen. What they want is the disarmament of Israel and the Jews leaving Israel and it becoming a Muslim nation. That's what they want, and that's what Biden keeps talking about. Two-state solution, two-state solution. Stinking enemy of God, enemy of Israel. Very recently, like 12 minutes or 20 minutes ago, Hamas informed the French press and the mediators have reached an agreement to extend the ceasefire in Gaza by 4 days. Do I think that's really true? Oh yeah, completely. I think it's true. Let's get an official release from Israel, but yeah, I think it's real. I would be shocked if that didn't happen. And this is not leading to the demilitarization of Gaza and all that stuff. Biden doesn't care about that. Biden wants them here because Satan wants them here to keep harassing Israel. Biden's not calling the shots. The unclean spirits are calling the shots. What do you think is going on? We're going to talk about what's the worst thing that America could do to us now. The worst thing America could do to us now is set things up to a level where Iran marches on Israel. And all they do is just not stop Iran from marching on Israel. How would that work? Well, it's not hard. All I got to do is annihilate Hamas, do the same to Hezbollah and the Houthi rebels, and you'll see Iran come chugging down with a bunch of militias and stuff, and they'll try to eradicate Israel, which won't work. See, what does America need Israel for? Tell me, I don't know. What? They don't get oil from us. Occasionally they get some weapon upgrade or something like that, which they could care less about. It's a burden economically on them. It causes a lot of political rift. What do they need Israel for? Now, they don't want to eradicate Israel themselves because they're afraid that Jehovah will rise up. So they use their throwaway disposable pawns, the Muslim terrorists, to do it. I'll be back in a minute. You see what I'm saying? What do they need us for? Answer that question. Why? Because we're the only democracy in the Middle East? You think America cares about that? America wants to rule the Middle East with an iron hand. Another way to get there is to break Hezbollah, break Hamas, break the Houthis, and then break Iran. That's the classical approach. And then they protect Kuwait, the UAE, Bahrain, Qatar, Oman, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and they're all happy. They got their gold-plated Rolls Royces, their jets, their yachts, their harems, and they're happy. Ow. I'll move this back more. Oh, it hurt. I got it right on the corner. All right. Now, how do I get out of here? And I can't. They got me blocked in. Let me just get to the bottom of the line on this, okay? Yesterday, the UN the UN General Assembly, voted for Israel to give back East Jerusalem Samaria and Judea and the Golan Heights. They're under such a delusion, they're going to defy God. Okay? This is a joke, but that's real to them. You should realize God's laughing at them. It's nonsense. They haven't seen God work openly in 2,000 years. And they think they're not going to, but we know better. So Biden goes to Netanyahu. And calls him up on the phone and says, "Oh, Benji, my boy. You know what the UN General Assembly did yesterday, right? Okay. Now, you know they're going to start making a move in the Security Council of the UN to raise an army and force you out of these areas. And I'll veto it. Only if you do what I want. You're my puppet. When I say jump, you say how high, Benji." That's the reality of what's going on here. Remember, Benji would like to be, that's Netanyahu, would like to be the head of Israel. But they're trying to put him in jail for 16 years. What do you think he would do? Be loyal and faithful to Israel and say, "Oh, I did wrong. I'll go to jail for a few years. I'll be nice to them. They'll let me out in 3 or 4 years." Or these rotten, unappreciative idiots are trying to put me in jail just because I did what every other world leader does. That's ridiculous. I'll wreck their freaking country before I go to jail. There you have it. That's it. That's what I believe is going on, in my opinion. Or the country, or he'll try to change the country in such a way, you know. Would Satan really engineer a massacre of 6.5 million Jews in Israel? Are you serious? You really need an answer to that? What do you think? He's a murderer from the beginning. You think he wouldn't do it? Come on. Who's going to rise up against people that did it? Nobody. Is this going to happen? No. Did America fight Hitler because he was killing the Jews? No, he was trying to dominate Europe, just like Putin's doing. And just like Iran's trying to dominate the Middle East. The big problem America has with Iran is this. Iran will control the flow of oil through the Persian Gulf and the Red Sea using Yemen, the Houthis. Okay? And control the output of oil, the production, how many barrels a day or a month they produce. And in essence, by shrinking the production of the big oil producing countries like UAE, Kuwait, Saudi, Oman, and so forth, the lower the production gets, the more the prices go up. So Iran can run the prices of oil up, which will kill the economies of North America, South America, Europe, and many countries, Africa, Asia. People just aren't going to be able to spend double and triple. The world is based on using automobiles, and the automobile, they need fuel, and the fuel's expensive, and they need home heating oil. And the ships and the trains and the planes need fuel. It's all about fuel. And there you have it. So if Iran manages to put a tight grip on the Middle East, Russia's a big fuel producer. They're right in bed with Iran. They can break the world. And how long would something like that take to break the world? If Iran had the stomach, 2 weeks, a month, 2 months. Attack Kuwait, attack UAE, attack Saudi into there. They don't need the other countries. And then Russia cuts its production back, and that's it. Blow a few pipelines up in the middle of it, you know. That's it. Then they just watch the economies collapse. So, you ever see a cat bat around a little aluminum foil ball? Maybe you had cats. I love cats, but my wife's allergic to them. You make a little ball out of aluminum, put it on a hard floor, and the cats just bat it around. They love it, right? Well, that's Biden's the aluminum foil ball. Okay, Russia and China are the paws batting them around, using Iran, of course. Iran's not calling the shots, okay? China's up here and Russia's up here. They're equal, okay? Down here comes Iran. Down there comes North Korea. Okay, then you get way down, you get like, you know, Belarus and Cuba. And Venezuela's starting a war with their neighbor, Guyana. Do I think America's going to pay much attention to it? No. It's just Venezuela doing the same border thing like all the rest of them do. Oh, this used to be our border, we're taking it back. So they'll have a fight over there, so what? It's not going to be that significant, I don't think. Unless I'm missing something. I don't think that's going to be seen. It's just another war in the world. You'll have wars and rumors of wars. Well, this is beginning to go into a war. It looks like the war is pretty imminent on. You know, it's going to happen. I don't know how big it's going to be. Venezuela is an oil-producing country that can turn out a reasonably decent amount of oil. And Venezuela's in the camp with China and Iran and Russia. So, you know, that's another oil-producing country they got. I say this and I'll say it again. The most intelligent thing for America to do, it's never going to do. And that would be to pull all the troops out from around the world, all their aircraft carrier and planes, and said, hey guys, you're on your own. Stack those Navy ships up and down the east and west coast and in the Gulf of Mexico and up by Alaska and out by Hawaii, and put the planes all over America and start a draft, pull another 500,000 or 1 million people into the army and train them, and just wait for the attack. Probably never come. It's too scary of an attack. And then just start going like you used to be. Make your own cars, grow your own food, you know, raise your own agricultural animals and all this stuff, make your own weapons, go back to a hard currency, silver-backed or gold-backed, and just let everybody go fly a kite. That's all. They'll never do it. Because that's not what America was built up for by Satan. America was built up or used for Satan to control the world. But it's not working anymore. Because now the beast is getting ready to start trying to control the world. See, Satan is doing a shift away from churchianity. I keep telling you, churchianity is over in a few months. It's dead. He's finished with that. is going to move into idolatry eventually with the beast, the false prophet, and the talking statue. That's Satan's true love, is idolatry. Churchianity was sort of dangerous for him. A lot of people came out of churchianity and stuff like that. Churchianity doesn't want to go around killing Israel and killing the Jews, and it's kind of a problem for him. He likes, Islam much better. Catholicism he's sort of finished with, I mean, it's there. That's going to fall too. They're all going to fall apart. That's basically what you see. So what is America going to do? Initially, they're going to keep having us extend the ceasefires until we get all the hostages that they have out. And then what? Well, Hamas is going to want to trade the Israeli soldiers that are held hostage for thousands of Israeli prisoners, terrorist prisoners in the jails. Israel's not going to do that. Biden will start leaning on Israel, and I don't know what Netanyahu will do. But I expect that a good outcome, a likely possible outcome here is they get rid of Netanyahu. Okay, and that'll bewilder Biden. In any event, America is going to be doing ugly things to Israel. And they're going to run away. And we covered that scripture. And the two witnesses are going to be the ones to stop this crap. It's out of hand. Don't you see it? The UN General Assembly. Let's see if we can get the vote on that, okay? Let's get the vote. How many nations voted that way? It should be easy to get. Well, let's see if we can find it. I'm not getting it. Let's see, try. This thing might have happened a couple of days before. Let's see. Why? I can't pick it up here. I don't know why. Let's see. I may have just found it. "91 countries voted in favor of the document." This one involves Israel withdrawing from the Golan Heights. And this is dated today. Um, the ones that voted for this include Russia, Brazil, India, great friend he is, China, Saudi Arabia. The ones that voted against were 8, including the US and the UK, while 62 countries abstained. That doesn't work. Either you're for them or against them. The resolution was co-authored by Algeria, Venezuela, Egypt. Yeah, they negotiate with us for Hamas. Egypt, yeah, they're impartial. Netanyahu's a dumbbell, an idiot, you know. Jordan, yeah, he's our enemy. Iraq, Qatar, he's another negotiator. These people are stupid. Why do they go to these? These are our enemies. Why do we want them to negotiate? See, let's talk about the war continuing long enough with Gaza, and then we run out of missiles and iron domes and all that, right? That brings me back to, why don't you just take a bunch of tanker trucks and keep dumping water in the tunnels all the time in Gaza? Every day, bring 15 or 25 trucks of water and just keep dumping water in. That got to end it sooner or later. Actually, the amount of countries that voted for that was only 91, which is way down. Usually it would be 150 or 60 or something like that. And I think that's because they saw the brutality that Hamas was capable of. It got some of them to abstain. In other words, they just didn't do it. So I think this resolution was pretty much just about pulling out from the Golan Heights. I can't find the other ones, but there's been other ones in months past, so I don't know what they're up to. But it's still, everything I said is still the same. Their problem is to stop Iran from dominating the Middle East. That's what America's issue is, not so much Israel. They don't really care if there is no more Israel in the Middle East. They don't need Israel, okay? They don't need Israel. Don't believe this thing, the only other democracy in the Middle East. They don't care about that. What kind of democracy are they? They're constantly trying to take the guns away from the people. Is that very democratic? Come on, wake up. They don't need Israel in the Middle East. They can do away with Israel. They don't believe they have to have Israel. Israel doesn't serve any purpose for them. None. And Satan wants Israel gone. What do you think? Satan wants a good Israel. You think that? How could you justify that in your mind? That's Satan's demise. He doesn't want that. No, don't think that. They don't need Israel. And Netanyahu tried doing judicial reform. It didn't work. He's not going to go to jail for 16 years. So you ask yourself, if you were a piece of garbage like him, what would you do? Would you sell Israel out altogether just to not go to jail and feel a lot of resentment towards Israel for what they did, trying to put the great leader in jail that did so much good for Israel? He's a piece of crap. He didn't do nothing good for Israel. All right. My name's Moshe. My wife is Rivka. Please pray for our peace, safety, protection, and joy, and healing of our bodies, and pray for our finances. And thanks to those that are giving offerings. If you want to use PayPal, you can use my email address. And pray for the peace of Jerusalem, and pray for our animals and pets that are all rescues. And I pray all this to you. Well, I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. And that's it, guys. I'm out for now. And keep praying, keep reading your Bible. Your redemption is real close. As soon as America turns on Israel, it just put us light years close, not light years, but put us way closer to our redemption. So don't dread it. Look forward to it. I'm out.